I'm calling what I'm going to be talking to you about the emerging Indian consumer story. And it's really been an exciting time for us at Fireside over the last couple of years. We are a new fund raised in 2017. And over about 18 months, this is the portfolio of investments that we've done. We have built up a portfolio of 18 companies. And this is a mix of both FMCG companies and non-FMCG companies. And really what I'm going to be talking about is what are the dynamics underlying a portfolio like this. So Fireside is, as I said, a fund raised in 2017. It is focused only on consumer product brands. And we believe that this is an important area. This is an area where there's a lot of disruption happening, fueled by millennials and who are creating new trends. And this is attracting a lot of interest from a wide variety of investors. And really our vision is to build 25 iconic brands over the next few years. So stepping back from that, to take a look at what's happening around the world, what we have seen is that the world of consumer brands has been changing quite significantly over the last many years. What I have on this slide is the name of a few big brands, which were very small brands just a few years back. And over the last few years, we have seen that these brands have been chipping away at the market share of the big brands. There is a number out there. It says that over the last few years, $17 billion of business moved from the big brands to these brands. $17 billion is a large number. In comparison to what the big brands are, it is still a small number. But the fact is that these ants biting away at the big elephants are beginning to take notice. Today, if you look at what's been happening with the big companies, they are now either acquiring these brands or they are investing directly in startups, or they started their own venture capital arms to take a stake in early stage companies because they want to keep an ear close to the ground on what is happening out there. Now, what's happening in India? In India, it's not yet the ants becoming large enough for the big guys to really take a big pot shot at early stage companies. But things are happening which are really going to lead to that in India as well. The per capita income in India has crossed $2,000. We believe that this is very significant. This is a situation where people start seeing the emergence of very significant aggregate trends in the economy. And therefore, when you look at the way the population is changing in India, we used to always talk about the Indian pyramid, where we had a large mass of poor people sitting at the bottom of the pyramid. Today, when you look at the population dynamics, that is very, very different. The shape is no longer a pyramid. I don't know what to call it. Somebody said it looks like a lighthouse, but you'll have to find some new name for it. But even that new name is not going to be valid for a long time because this is a Bain Capital report, and they are talking about in 2030, the shape of this population dispersion being actually very different. It is increasingly becoming top heavy. It's okay, maybe not top heavy, it's still middle heavy, but what is of interest to us at Fireside is the emergence of a large number of people at the top of the pyramid. At the present moment, we're talking about 9 billion people, 9 billion households, and this could become 30 million households a few years later. Now, why is that important? It's important because this consumer who is sitting at the top of the pyramid acts very differently. His and her needs are very different. They're looking at, actually for the first time I'm seeing Indian consumers reading back of pack. Indian consumers in all my life in FMCG never read back of pack, but today they're actually looking at what is going into the product. They're looking for products which are clean label, preservative free, chemical free. So they're looking for all of that. They're looking for how to bring up the kids very differently to the way they were brought up. Indian parents are very, very aspirational as far as their kids are concerned. They're very competitive. In their mind, it's all a big race out there, and their kids had to win, whether the kid wants it or not. and they're willing to spend a lot of money to actually make their kids win. And so there is a whole lot of different dynamics when it comes to people at the top of the pyramid, and we believe that's very important for defining the way the consumer brands are going to be today and over the next few years. We believe that the new brands which are getting built today, which we're calling brand 2.0, they're getting built faster and they're getting built with less capital because they're doing things very differently to brands that I grew up on, brands 1.0, whether it's to do with how they get their consumer insights or how they do product testing. In the good old days, we used to develop several products, and it used to take us a year to figure out which products would win with the consumers. Today, the promoters of companies are just going out online, putting the products, seeing which has got traction, and they know which is going to win in the market. So to then looking at the route to market, they're not going straight away offline because offline consumes a lot of resource. They're going online. And they're going with Amazon, they're going with specialized verticals like Nykaa, with First Cries, and then they're looking at how to then go into the offline world. So the whole way in which they're scaling up is actually substantially different to the way the brand scaled up in the world of brand 1.0. And as a result of all of these changes, we at Fireside certainly are seeing a huge deal flow, which has led to the 18 investments that we've done over the last couple of years. And the other interesting thing is that when we set out with this fund, thought that a lot of investments are going to be in the FMCG area, but we're actually seeing lots of disruptions happening outside the FMCG area as well. Apparel, durables, in the home living space. So there is a whole lot of new spaces where there is disruption happening out there. And we are really also seeing the emergence of an ecosystem, which we at Fireside are working very actively to build. Because we strongly believe that it's not just about putting money into a company. I don't think that's all that is required to make a company succeed. We believe that we need to work closely with different partners out there, whether it is go-to-market partners like Amazon, Big Basket, or Metro, or whether it's to do with building out a brand strategy, working with people who can enable that, or whether it's to do in the area of corporate governance. We think there is a whole ecosystem which needs to be built, which will make our companies successful, and that's something that we are very actively looking out to build. And all of this is because we believe that consumer brands make for very rewarding investments. All of you are very familiar with the big companies, how year after year for the last, I don't know how many years, they always outperformed the big market indices in terms of stock market appreciation. But that's true of the unlisted company space also. And I just put out there a bunch of recent investments, and you can see the kind of multiples that investors are willing to pay for these companies. So I think the overall summary I would say is that the world of consumer brands is changing because the consumer is changing because the environment in which brands are operating is changing. All of it means that brands are scaling up faster, more efficiently, and that's what is going to make consumer brands investing something extremely rewarding. Yeah, thank you.